Yo, welcome back to another video, man. Today we got some. Let me turn this up again. We got some JxmyHighroller. NBA myths we all believe were true. I don't know any. I don't remember any NBA myths. No, wasn't there like a video going around of like it was either Steph Curry or LeBron, like just like chucking half court shots and just green and then just dunks back to back to back. It was so long ago, bro. There's like tons of videos like that in the back in the day. I generally, and I was a little kid, so I generally thought it was real. But it was like once you get older, you were like, oh no, that's fake. That's fake as hell. But I don't know. I don't know any NBA myths. Excuse me, on the top of my head like that. I don't know. I can't think of one.
More exhilarating than being.
Hold on. Alright, I fixed it. I didn't have my plugged up.
The only thing more exhilarating than being a kid at an NBA game behind the basket distracting the other team from making free throws is being a grown man behind the basket distracting the other team from making free throws. Sit in this section at any basketball game and there is no end to the effort home teams and their fans will make to try to get the opposing team to miss a few shots at the charity stripe. Fans with signs, fans.
Y'all remember who do you think has the best like stadium presence, bruh? Okay, I think OKC, like at least back in the day, bro, like when they had Harden and all of them, bro, OKC used to be OZ, like OD. San Antonio when they had Tim Duncan and that little dynasty, that was crazy. Obviously Golden State Warriors, bro. Who has the best stadium, like stadium presence? Like, what's the hardest stadium to win at in like today's NBA?
Dousing themselves in paint and insane outfits. Still say OKC, those dreadfully loud thunder sticks they hand out before the game. Mascots themselves getting in on the action. The only problem is, fans attempting to distract free throw shooters at the line doesn't work. Like, at all. Over the years, researchers have done numerous studies into this topic and found that distracting free throw shooters essentially has no effect on the results of their shot. When comparing free throw shooting of teams playing at home versus away, a negligible difference was found in free throw percentage. Over the last 25 seasons, home teams have shot just 0.2% better from the line compared to visiting teams, suggesting that efforts made by fans of the home team have no effect on performance, and that even the point.
But they niggas gonna still do it, cause why? Cause they want to, bruh. It's provocative. It gets the people going.
2% discrepancy was due to other factors. Years ago, sports science conducted an experiment testing this theory.
I remember sport. Didn't the dude that used to host Sports Science die? Bro, I was wondering why. Why they took away Sports Science, bro. I used to love Sports Science when it came on, bro. For like OZ, like I feel like who didn't like Sports Science game? I feel like everybody likes Sports Science, bro. I was so bummed when I like they just stopped making them out. Like damn, bro. Like I used to like look forward to seeing a new Sports Science joint.
Or if fan distraction affects the shooting efficiency of players at the line, and they tried everything and they came back with the same results. It does not. Despite the effort, fans attempting to distract opposing players at the line virtually doesn't affect their performance at all. However, there is a different way fans can dramatically affect free throw shooting throughout NBA games, and that is by not going to the games. After years of attempting to create controlled environments for these studies, researchers were given the perfect sample on the effects of fan interaction and player performance due to COVID and social distancing back in 2020 and 20.
But wasn't it like everybody was just going off doing the bubble, bruh? Because it was like such a contained environment. It was basically like pickup with, but like actual like stake NBA players and stakes on the line.
2021, where the NBA had a season and a half of games featuring 0 fans. And after gathering the data, researchers found that free throw percentage jumped up by 3 to 4% without fans in attendance across the NBA, from about 76% to 79%, a percentage that fell back down to the long-standing league average of about 75% once fans were brought back into attendance the following season. In fact, their data showed that having fans in attendance affected home teams equally as much as away teams. Overall, it was found that the largest variable that had an effect on free throw shooting was the circumstance of the game. How close the score was, how late in the game the shots were taken, and how important the free throws were. So, although there isn't much you can do as an individual to affect the outcome of free throws, if no one is in attendance and there is absolutely nothing at stake, your team might just hit those free throws. But this is just one of many misconceptions NBA fans have been led to believe for years. Some of them true, others just a myth.
Great intro, Jimmy. I already know you about to hit me with the ad, Jimmy. I'm ready to skip. I know you too well, Jimmy. I know you too well, Jimmy. The hot hand.
On December 26, 2020, during a Warriors practice, Steph Curry pulled off a nearly impossible feat. Over the course of 5 minutes, Steph hit 105 consecutive three-point shots.
In how many minutes?
Steph pulled off a nearly impossible feat. Over the course of 5 minutes, Steph hit
5 minutes? No, that's not as crazy as I thought.
105.
Oh, it's still, don't get me wrong. It's still crazy. Don't get me wrong. But I was thinking about like how many shots he had to put up like per second. Like it's still crazy, but it was like I was what up?
Consecutive three-point shots. 105 in a row. Most
crazy.
Of these shots not even touching the rim. But Steph is the greatest shooter in the world, so you would think a feat like this should be in the realm of possibility for him. And technically, it is. If we assume Steph shoots about 95% from three in an empty gym during practice with no defense, the chances of him making 105 threes in a row is less than 0.5%. Possible, but there might be something else going on here. After this clip surfaced, many fans began speculating the hot hand theory, an old myth that a player who makes a sequence of shots has a greater chance of continued success in the subsequent attempts. And NBA fans will be the first to tell you that the hot hand is a very real thing. We've all seen the hot hand catch fire in real time, when a few good makes seems to be the direct cause of a few more good makes.
And honestly, I don't think it's like something that you can really like. I don't think it's something that you can really measure per se. Like I feel like it's more so a mental thing. Like you're just in that like that flow state, that mental state, to where it's like you see a couple going in, and in your mind you're like, oh, I'm like that. I'm him. Like, you feel me? And now you just, a large part of sports is about confidence, right? And I feel like most of like the hot hand and most of the flow state is basically you having your confidence at an all-time high, and you believing that you can make every shot. And once you believe more, every athlete knows what I'm talking about. Like the more confident you are in your abilities, the better you play. It's just that simple.
If you've played basketball, you've probably felt this yourself. Except, research says otherwise. In 1985, researchers crunched the numbers and found that there was no correlation between the success of one shot leading to greater success on the next shot. This research was groundbreaking at the time and called the idea of the hot hand a fallacy, a myth. However, recently further research was done on this topic, a lot of research, and what they found was that the hot hand does in fact exist. Contrary to the research done in 1985, with the advent of modern technology, tracking data, and more detailed shooting logs, many studies have shown that when a player makes consecutive shots, the chances of their following shot going in actually does increase. Now, the results of each study are heavily dependent on the sample of players, with one sample seeing a 3 to 4% increase in shooting percentage in these hot hand moments, another sample of players getting an 8% boost in shooting percentage, and a third sample
they're talking about percentages and all types of junk like this 2K
getting a 12% increase in shooting percentage after hitting 3 shots in a row as opposed to missing 3 shots in a row. Despite the variance in the overall effect of the hot hand, the results showed that there is a very clear correlation between making your previous shots and the expected outcome of your next shot. But in 2022, researchers at the University of Pittsburgh took this one step further by not just studying the shooting habits of players at practice in controlled environments, but actually gathering data from live games. After analyzing 170,000 field goal attempts in NBA games from the 2014 and 2015 seasons, pulling from play-by-play logs and player tracking, and comparing expected results against actual outcomes, they found that the hot hand was not only real, it had dramatic effects on the performance of certain players. Specifically, 30 players showed a statistically significant hot hand effect. After hitting 2 shots in a row, these players were 2.7% more likely to hit the third. After 3 straight makes, the boost grew to 4.4%. And after 4 straight makes, the likelihood of hitting the next shot jumped by nearly 6%. Their
God damn, maybe you can track it. But I still think it's something. It's more so of a intangible thing, like like you just in that. Like I said, you just in that flow state, bro. It's just like it correlates. Seeing 1, 2, 3 shots going in, you're like, oh yeah, tonight's the night. You feel me? I can hit anything, and you just start hitting bullshit. You feel me?
Data also showed that the hot hand is not a constant around the league, but instead varies from player to player, suggesting that it's not about how good of a shooter they are or how well they can score, but rather how each player reacts psychologically after making or missing a shot. A phenomenon that was dismissed for decades, but those who've played basketball knew all along was a real thing. In general, research shows that the success of previous shot attempts does in fact increase the chances of success in the following attempts, proving the existence of the hot hand. 10 years ago, Klay Thompson set an NBA record by scoring 37 points in a single quarter. Even crazier is that he shot a perfect 13 for 13 from the field, 9 for 9 from 3, and hit both of his free throws. 37 points, 1 quarter, not a single miss. Based off of his shooting splits from that season, the chances of him pulling this off were about 0.002%.
Damn.
So either Klay Thompson was the luckiest man alive on that night, or his hands were on fire.
Damn. A league full of giants.
This is 14-year-old Jeremy Gohey, one of the highest-ranked basketball prospects in the world in the class of 2028. Lately, Jeremy's name has received some extra buzz for his recent performances and the accelerated progression his game has seen over the last year. But there's one quality in particular that makes Jeremy one of the most unique prospects in the world. The fact that he is 7 feet 6 inches tall.
Oh my god. Soon enough, bro, all these genetically freaked people gonna take over the league. But I don't know, bro. I feel like there's always gonna be a space for like smaller guards and smaller players. And I'm talking about like small. I'm talking about smaller guards. Like most of these niggas are like 6'3" at least. Like, you feel me? Like
14-year-old running around with kids half his size. And with each passing year, it seems that these larger-than-life prospects are becoming more and more common. Every other week, a new name popping up with a height next to it that looks like a typo. And many of these prospects aren't playing a traditional back-to-the-basket big man role. They're facing up, running in transition, and using skills that you would usually associate with wings, smaller players, and perimeter guys, which has led some fans to believe that at this rate, the NBA will one day be exclusively full of mega giants at every position in possession of skills they have no business having. But this idea that the NBA is heading towards being a league full of Victor Wembanyamas is a myth, at least for the foreseeable future. Finding players over 7 feet, let alone 7'6", with the tools to become serviceable NBA players is as rare today as it's ever been. In fact, finding 7-footers who can stay in the league at all is a difficult task. In 1990, 10.2% of all players in the league were at least 7 feet tall, and up until about 2010, they remained about 10% of the league. But then this number slowly began to fall. Each season, pure size playing less of a factor in the league. The market share big men once had
because of the that was towards like the small ball lineup, the Golden State Steph Curry KD era. You feel me? That's why it was dropping so much, because there were so many people around this time. Like, you see this massive dip from like you can even bring it back to like 2016. Like, yeah, it goes up, but like it has like this massive dip because around this time it was like everybody was running like small ball lineups. Everybody was running small ball lineups, like everybody, bro. What year was it when James Harden won MVP? Was it 19? When he had Russ? I think was it when he had Russ? I mean, even when he had Russ, like that Rockets team, when they had either CP or Russ and they played massive small ball, like around this area, it was just everybody was just playing small ball, like small lineups.
Began to shrink, eventually ending up where it is today, where 7-footers make up just 6.5% of the NBA, nearly half of where it was 35 years ago, with every inch above 7 feet exceedingly more rare. The league featuring just 1 to 6 players 7'3" or taller at any given time for the last 3.5 decades, a rate that has not increased in recent years. Now, looking into the future, there is currently only 3 players taller than 7 feet on the 2026 NBA mock draft board. 2027 also features just 1 player over 7 feet tall projected to be drafted. And if finding the oversized talent wasn't hard enough, developing it is almost impossible. Throughout the last 10 drafts, 37 players who are 7 feet or taller were drafted. Of those 37 players, 25 of them are still in the league. And of those 25, only 4 of them have a game that is even somewhat utilized on the perimeter. But this list includes every 7-foot draftee in the entire league. If we exclude players under 7'2", then a decade worth of supersized big man talent gets reduced to just 4 players. Now, at the moment, there are 339 players who are currently listed as NBA prospects through 2027. These are players who are either being scouted by teams across the league or have NBA potential according to analysts. Of these 339 players around the world, only 6 of them are at least 7'2". And of these 6, 1 of them is projected to be drafted. Regardless of what you see online, players with this size, let alone guard skills,
I think it's because it's like so many tall people are just like, I feel like it's more so just like people are just paying attention and looking for the next freakishly tall athlete. You feel me? So you don't even have to be good. As long as you just have like a decent game and you're like absurdly tall, people are gonna talk about you. So it feels like all these things are just popping out of nowhere, I guess. But in reality, it's not like, they're not really getting into the league. You know what I mean? They're getting into the league at a lesser rate than they were like, 20 years ago?
Still extremely rare, and there are virtually none of them currently in the NBA prospect pipeline. So, no, the NBA will not be a league full of Wembies anytime soon.
Tanking.
The whole entire point of sports is to win. That is the ultimate goal of every player, every team, anyone who's ever competed in a sport. And yet, in the NBA, teams are incentivized to lose. Well, not all of them, just the bad ones. Since the inception of the NBA draft lottery in 1985, tanking has been a common strategy to land top draft picks and potentially climb your way out of NBA irrelevance. If you're having a bad season, might as well make it a little bit worse to better your odds at getting a top pick in the draft. But the validity of tanking and if it actually works long term is still a topic of debate. Does blowing up an entire season or two really increase the chances of a team winning more games and contending for a title in the future? Well, this shouldn't even be a question, because this myth is true. Tanking for top draft picks is not only extremely effective, it is the fastest way out of the pits of NBA standings. Between 1966 and 1984, the team with the worst record in the league had a 50% chance of landing with the top pick. A coin toss. Like a literal coin toss between them and the team
they actually did that? Oh, damn.
Second worst record. But teams took advantage of this, so over the years those odds have decreased drastically to where they are today, where the 3 teams with the worst records in the league each have a 14% chance of getting the first overall pick. 1 in 7 odds. Odds that are so slim that it shouldn't be worth throwing a whole season away for. And yet, the worst teams in the league continue to take those odds year after year. Because it works. From 2000 to 2020, the teams that landed with the #1 overall pick in the draft averaged just 34.8 wins per season in the 3 seasons leading up to their tanking season. Then, of course, most of them tanked for that #1 pick, averaging just 25 wins in those tanking seasons. But then they bounced back, averaging nearly 41 wins in the 5 seasons following.
Damn. I was not expecting that much of a jump.
Their #1 pick. A nearly 15% increase in wins from before winning the draft lottery to after winning it. But this boost in success doesn't just apply to teams who won the draft lottery, because here are the average records for teams who landed with the 2nd and 3rd overall pick in the draft. Teams who also saw a notable boost in wins after landing a top pick. In fact, on average, teams won 5 more regular season games per season in the 5 years following a top 3 pick in the draft. Now, where the real difference comes in is the playoffs, where teams who won the #1 overall pick in the draft lottery averaged just 0.6 playoff wins per season leading up to their tanking season. In the 5 years following their 1st overall pick, they averaged 3 playoff wins per season, 5 times the amount of playoff success they had prior to their pick and prior to tanking. And again, teams that landed with the 2nd and 3rd.
I mean, that makes sense because look at OKC. They're like the most like extreme example of like pick hogging. You feel me? Even like somebody like who was the old owner for Danny Ainge. Danny Ainge. Even look at Danny Ainge and what he's doing and what he did in Boston when he got Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. And look what he's doing in Utah. He's stacking up picks.
Pick also saw a drastic increase in playoff success in the 5 following seasons. Use any metric to determine the merit of tanking in the NBA, and you'll find that if teams are willing to be horrifically bad for 1 season, they will more than likely bounce back better than they were before they tanked. Even when teams don't select a player who turns out to be a franchise cornerstone, on most occasions they still end up flipping that player for valuable assets, making a top pick in the draft extremely valuable under almost any circumstance. In fact, tanking has been so effective for so long that the NBA has tried everything in the book to mitigate the advantage it grants teams. And still, even after reformatting the draft lottery 4 times, the overwhelming advantage lies with the team who is willing to be horrifically bad. Now, the catch here is that very rarely, if ever, does tanking lead to a championship. The reason for this being that chronic losing usually happens within dysfunctional organizations, which then pushes these bad organizations to tank, which then leads them to getting top-end talent that never gets developed, utilized properly, or built around because the organization is bad, which inevitably leads to more tanking. So if a team's goal is to win a championship, well, they're probably not in a position to tank in the first place. But if they just don't want to be an NBA bottom feeder anymore, then tanking is unfortunately an incredibly viable option.
Great video, Jimmy. Holy shit. Great video, bro. I ain't gonna lie. I know how it is with JxmyHighroller videos, bro. Hella entertaining. You feel me? You learn something from it. You feel me? I think JxmyHighroller has got to be like top 5 greatest NBA YouTubers of all time, bro. I put him top 5, bro. I ain't gonna lie. I put him top 5 because this is really like this is my main guy when I watch for basketball, though. Like, you feel me? Like I got like somebody I watch for every sport, like basketball, football, soccer. Like basketball is JxmyHighroller. Football, it's multiple people. It can be like it's a whole bunch of people. I just like breaking down film, watching film, and seeing what the defense is playing. See if they're running how the quarterback adjusts their defense when they're running like 3 high trips or whatever. You know what I mean? And for soccer, I watch box to box mainly. You feel me? So we need more. We need more sport content. We need sport content, bro. Basketball finna come back. Football been started. You feel me? Soccer started. I'm eating great today, bro. I'm eating great, bro.